Good afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. This is Heather Davis. Today I am 9 weeks and 3 days pregnant, and I told you a few days ago I was going to make a video about more nutrients that help me conceive. And those three nutrients that I want to talk about are vitamin D, matcha green tea, and then iodine. And I have a couple of videos called the iodine controversy where I talk about the controversy of should we supplement with iodine or not, because obviously our diets are getting bombarded by things that compete with iodine, like bromines in pastries, fluoride in the water, and linings of things you wouldn't expect, like popcorn bags and to-go cups and things, and then also chlorines in the water. And those are halogens just much like iodine, so we'll start with that. And so your thyroid is one example of an organ that really needs iodine. And if those other halogens, bromine, fluoride, or chlorine, are in your blood, it'll pick them up too because they're so similar. And so I was taking iodine drops for a few months, and I noticed my hair got fuller, my feet got really warm, my thyroid stimulating hormone went up, but my T3 and my T4 were great. And so the controversy with iodine and supplementing with it is that some clinicians are claiming that if you take iodine, and I was taking more than necessary, like you could take 2% Lugol's iodine or a Nation iodine from Dr. Ed Group on globalhealingcenter.com and just do 1 drop a day. But I was kind of overdoing it because I wanted to detoxify fluoride, and I was taking several drops a day. And it did aggravate my acne too, and I'll get into that in a moment. But the controversy is that because it causes a higher thyroid stimulating hormone, that is clinical, subclinical hypothyroidism. But really, the thyroid stimulating hormone is what your body makes to stimulate your thyroid, making the very important T3 and T4, which regulate your metabolism and your body temperature as well. So in my TSH, the stimulating hormone only went up to 2.5, which is subclinical hypothyroidism, not like off the charts. I did stop taking iodine once I became pregnant too, and once I realized it was massively aggravating my acne. And the reason it does that is because other organs besides your thyroid actually need iodine. So like, for example, your ovaries, if you're trying to conceive, that matters. Actually, some women have a lot of luck getting pregnant after they get what's called an HSG procedure, which is where doctors inject iodine through the cervix and flood the uterus and ovaries with an iodine solution. And then they actually put the women under a radioactive X-ray type machine to check for blockages. But even if there are no blockages, many women get pregnant thereafter. And the theory is that it's the iodine that gets soaked into the ovaries that need that iodine to make proper hormones. That's where the acne comes in. So iodine can also go into your adrenals and your ovaries and increase androgen-like hormones. So for me, someone who's worked out since I was 14 years old, I make more testosterone than I would like, and so I would get hormonal acne naturally, and when I took that iodine, it just went BAM and exploded my face. So keep that in mind. But it did, I believe, help my ovaries and my thyroid. Also, as an added benefit, iodine could help you detoxify your pineal gland from fluoride. If you've ever heard of the calcified pineal gland, which is the gland at the base of your brain, then it comes from fluoride building up, and then once the fluoride builds up, it causes inflammation, and then that inflammation makes your body collect plaques, which is how fluoride is actually related to Alzheimer's disease. So once you have fluoride in your system, you're going to pick up other heavy metals like aluminum and things that can increase your risk of Alzheimer's. So iodine has other possible benefits as well. And I already talked about the zinc, and zinc is actually tied in with that as well. The higher your zinc levels, the less chance of Alzheimer's. And that is also linked because that zinc can go in there and displace those other heavy metals that you may have accumulated from high fluoride toxicity. And remember, fluoride decreases fertility, and iodine is the good halogen. So I think even though it's a controversy, that overall it did help me. Now, the other thing that helped me was vitamin D. I've mentioned to you all that I had 2 miscarriages. And back when I had my first one, my vitamin D was rather low. It came out as like a 35 from Quest Diagnostics, but back then Quest Diagnostics wasn't even doing the test right, so you had to divide that by 2.5. You had to divide it by some number that made it even smaller. So 35, it was actually lower than that, if I remember correctly. And this is your vitamin D3. You can get your levels tested, but you need that 25-OH test, which is your D3, not your D2, which is added to milk and almond milk, but the sunshine vitamin, or that you can actually get from taking vitamin D3, which is usually made from lanolin or sheep's wool. Vitamin D, the higher your level, that can help with fertility as well. Recently, right before I got pregnant, I got my level tested and it was 70. And according to Dr. Joseph Mercola, one of my favorite doctors, he's an osteopathic physician, which is more holistic than medical doctors, he recommends that you have a vitamin D level between 50 and 70. And if you have an autoimmune disease or cancer, you want it to be as high as 70 to 100. So getting myself up to 70 was kind of a minimum for me because I believe that I have autoimmune irritable bowel syndrome as a result of Accutane, an acne medicine that I took in 1999. And if you don't know what it is, it's synthetic vitamin A, and it causes severe birth defects, but it clears your skin up like magic, but it is related to Crohn's and IBS, and I believe it helped trigger my corn allergy that is also, I believe, related to GMO corn. So avoiding GMOs is part of that, but that's not really a nutrient. That's a lack of a nutrient. But vitamin D, definitely getting those levels up helped my emotions, helped tone down my autoimmune tendencies, my food intolerances, because it has an antimicrobial effect. So if you have bad gut, usually that's because you have more bad germs than good germs, and vitamin D will help balance that out. And the third thing that I really think helped me conceive was matcha green tea. I got it at Whole Foods in a little jar, and it's a powder. You don't have to brew and steep a tea bag. Matcha green tea is more absorptive than regular green tea, so you're going to get more of that antioxidant EGCG. Now there's a catch to this green tea. It has been shown theoretically to increase your chance of conception, but once you've conceived, you probably don't want to take green tea, at the very least with your prenatals, because it can reduce your absorption of folate or folic acid. Now folic acid, if you don't have adequate levels, if you're deficient in folic acid, it can increase your chance of having a baby with not only Down syndrome, but other neural tube defects like spina bifida, which is where their spine doesn't seal up correctly in the womb, in the early parts of development, fetal development, or embryonic development. So those are the 3 things on top of the previous video: the zinc, the B12, the cholesterol, and the selenium that I spoke previously. And I know that's a lot. And you're thinking to yourself, why didn't you just take a prenatal vitamin? Well, here's the issue. Prenatal has everything all crammed into one. And things compete with each other. Zinc and iron compete with each other. And I have a hard time finding a prenatal that doesn't have iron. And that's sad because high iron levels are related to an increased risk of Alzheimer's, probably because it's decreasing that zinc, and that zinc is protecting your brain from fluoride, part of the issue. So zinc absorption isn't going to be as good from prenatals, and everyone knows zinc is good for fertility, like the old eating oysters thing. So Also, your vitamin A and your E and your D and your K, those are all fat-soluble vitamins that all compete with each other, and they're all in that one prenatal. So it would be probably better to, get sunshine for vitamin D, and then maybe use some grapeseed oil for cooking and eat some eggs for your vitamin E. Eat plenty of cheese and kale and other and leafy green vegetables for your vitamin K, and then maybe some fresh carrot juice for your beta carotene, or liver, which is straight vitamin A. That also comes complete with higher levels of other minerals and vitamin B12, which I also mentioned in the previous video. I hope this helps you all. Remember, I'm not a licensed nutritionist. I do have a pre-medical exercise physiology degree from Florida State University, so I did take a lot of nutrition, and I also added prerequisites to that. So if I wanted to enter a Master of Nutrition program, I am prepared for that as well. So I have a little bit of, a lot actually, of science background and physiology background to back this up, but make sure you do your own research and check with your competent healthcare professional, which of course you all know I would prefer be a naturopath, or at the very least an osteopathic physician rather than a medical doctor who gets maximum 6 weeks of nutrition. So if you're having trouble conceiving and you haven't consulted someone who knows about nutrition, that might be a good place to start, and you can discuss with them all of the vitamins and nutrients that I mentioned. Have a great day. This is me looking out for you, and good luck. And oh, don't forget to have fun.